Gabon given the right to host AFCON 2017, but which teams are likely to progress in the qualifiers? Hello and a very warm welcome to Matchpoint here on CCTV Africa, where we bring you everything African sport. My name is Mahia Mutua. Also coming up in this week's edition, we tell you about a Zimbabwean golfer who's about to make history 14 years after his death. And we'll be taking in the splendor and thrill of kitesurfing in Egypt's Red Sea resorts. Right now, let's start with African football, where this week we found out who will be the hosts of the next African Nations Cup. Gabon won the three-way vote. The draw for the tournament also took place this week in Cairo. 2004 AFCON champions Tunisia are in Group A as the team with the best chances of progressing on paper, while two-time winners DR Congo are in for a tough fight in Group B alongside Angola and the Central African Republic. This year's hosts, Equatorial Guinea, were drawn in Group C, while Uganda, Botswana, the Comoros and Burkina Faso do battle in Group D. Zambia look like the best placed team to progress in a group with Congo and Kenya, while Morocco are enjoying their return to continental football and will kick off in Group F. Group G could serve up some interesting football as Nigeria and Egypt go head-to-head, while the Black Stars of Ghana should progress from Group H. The current title holders Côte d'Ivoire are in Group I, while Group J contains Algeria, Lesotho, Ethiopia and the Seychelles. Senegal could have it easy in Group K, while Group L could be anybody's to win with Guinea, Malawi, Swaziland and Zimbabwe. Finally, the Bafana take on the indomitable Lions in the final group, Group M. Right now, for more on the Africa Cup of Nations qualification process, we're now joined live from Nigeria by Toyin Ibitoye, media officer for Nigeria's national side, the Super Eagles. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll begin by asking you, obviously Nigeria failed to qualify for the last edition of the Africa Cup of Nations finals. What challenges did the team face back then, and what now needs to be done to ensure progression for the team to the finals this time round?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, very true. We didn't qualify for the last session of the Nations Cup. A lot of reasons could be adduced for our not qualifying. But I quickly want to draw your attention to the fact that we didn't qualify for the 2012 edition as well, and we came back to win the 2013 edition. So it's not really about failing. It's how well we react to our failure to qualify. And we know what happened to us. We took a lot of things for granted. We had a lot of problems on and off the pitch that we didn't resolve. And we were just coming out of the World Cup. A lot of the players were fatigued, and we didn't do enough to refresh them going into the 2015 Nations Cup qualifiers. But we've learned our lessons now. We know what to do. We're putting our house in order. The team will have a different attitude, a different approach, and I'm sure during the qualifiers for 2017 Nations Cup, you will see a different, a hungrier, a more committed, a more dedicated Super Eagles that will do enough to qualify.
Right, we certainly do look forward to seeing that. Now, obviously, Nigeria is also ushering in the presidency on the national level of Muhammadu Buhari. What kind of support do you think that his administration should extend to the Super Eagles as a national team?
Yeah, we're happy that General Buhari is president-elect now. We're looking forward to him taking over the 29th of May. Interestingly, our first official game will be in June in Abuja against Chad. And I'm sure the Eagles will want to win that game to make a statement that things are different, the attitude is different. We expect quite a lot from government. Football is a major tool for unifying Nigeria. When the Eagles are playing, everybody forgets about ethnic divide, religious divide, and they are focused on helping the Eagles to win. And I'm sure that the government of General Buhari will understand what role football can play in nation building. So we expect quite a lot of support from them in terms of financial support to the team. More importantly, we expect a structure to be put in place that will allow private sector involvement in sports generally and in football, so that the Eagles can have more funding to do better campaign, better preparation, and better motivation of the players. So we're looking forward to different attitude, and I'm sure by the time we play our first official game under this new dispensation in June against Chad, everybody will see that the Eagles are also making the right statement about this change that is coming to Nigeria.
All right, Toyin Ibitoyi, I'll ask you to hang on the line. Right now, we're also roping in Captain Shatta. He is joining us from Cairo. He's a member of the Confederation of African Football and a former Egypt national team player. Captain Shatta, thank you for joining us this evening. I'll begin by asking you, Egypt also has been missing from Africa's top football competition. What went wrong for the Pharaohs, given that its football clubs remain some of the most successful teams in Africa?
Well, thank you for the question. Indeed, Egypt is on top of of African football for a long while. They founded CAF in 1957 with Sudan and Ethiopia. They have been in football for a long time. They won the African Cup of Nations 7 times. But Egypt now is in a big problem of playing football. Closed doors, no fans are allowed to enter. But the clubs, we have to understand that many clubs in many countries, even in the league inside the countries are weak, but the national teams are very strong because the international players, professional abroad, made these countries very strong, like Nigeria, like Ghana, but the league there is not like the league of Egypt. Egypt has got very few players playing abroad. So the strength of the national team of Egypt does not relate to the clubs. Clubs in Egypt are stronger than any clubs abroad, but the national team, because of the few numbers of players playing abroad, is limited. That's why we found that the clubs are most better than the national team. Egypt is absent for quite a long time. This is maybe the third time, but they are looking forward to qualify for this 2017 because you cannot have the best African national team absent for 3 times. Nigeria also have got the same problem. They were not involved, but last time in 2013 they won it. But I'm sure that the Egyptian will come back again, and the teams are now playing the league again. It resumed. You know, it was being suspended for more than 1 month because of the tragedy of the Petrosport Stadium when 22 fans died because of the stampeding, and a lot of things happening now. They come back after they open the doors, they close back the doors again.
Actually, coming back to just what you mentioned there, obviously we have heard about the unruly behavior of fans and the bans that came out of that, which disrupted the domestic league in Egypt. What do you think, or what kind of effect will this have on Egypt's quest as a national side in qualifying for the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations?
Well, the group is really tough because Nigeria is there, but they have Chad and they have Tanzania. So I think if you need 2 from a group, I think Egypt and Nigeria the possibility of qualifying is very strong because of the 2 teams joining them. Because you see, Tanzania is not an easy game. Everybody was thinking that Tanzania is an easy national team. They have got a very good structure now. They have got very good players. I have seen them playing a lot of time, and indeed the group is strong. Relatively, Nigeria also is in the group. They also they take care of being with Nigeria in this group. They will prepare well. When you have such a team in the group, you prepare well so that nobody will say that this group is less stronger than another group in the qualification. But I'm sure that the doors will be open for the qualification. Especially, you only play 2 matches and then you stay another 4 or 6 months to play another match. They will start in June and they will end in next year in 2016. So I think there will be going to be preparation for the national team, and the league is continuing on. Egypt has got a good chance to qualify, and Nigeria also have got a good chance, but it's going to be a very difficult group since the 2 giants are there in this group.
All right, you mentioned the 2 giants are there in the same group. Toyin Ibitoyi, I'll come back to you finally. What are the chances of Nigeria making it to Gabon in 2017, and how well will they do, especially after having been grouped with Egypt in the qualification stage? Yeah,
it's a very tricky draw, and we'll look, I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, at what happened in 2015 when we were in the same group with Sudan, we were in the same group with Congo and South Africa, a group that everybody would assume that the Eagles will stroll through, probably even go through unbeaten and without conceding any goals. Unfortunately, we didn't even finish among the top 2 in the group. So there's a new thinking now. We're not going to take anything for granted. Captain Salah talked about Nigeria and Egypt, but I think it's going to come down to how Nigeria will deal with the other teams in the group as well. In case Nigeria and Egypt cancel out at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how Nigeria deals with Tanzania home and away and deals with Chad home and away. But let me tell you what the Nigerian Football Federation is doing and what the Super Eagles are also trying to do. We are taking this one game at a time. It's a new thinking, it's a new philosophy, it's a new attitude. We're not taking anybody for granted. We're down from our high horses. We failed to qualify the last time. We're more like underdogs now. We're going to be taking it one game at a time, approach it one match after the other, and try to see how we pick up points along the way from every game so that we can restore our confidence, restore our pride, and return to where we deserve to be, among the best in Africa.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this discussion, but for sure, that will be the group to watch with both the Super Eagles and the Pharaohs paired together. That was Captain Shatta, member of CAF and a former national team player, joining us live from Cairo, and Toyin Ibitoye, who is the media officer for Nigeria's national side, the Super Eagles. He was joining us from Lagos. Well, moving on, Kenyan football fans are apprehensive about their public safety ahead of the country's biggest derby slated for this Sunday. Their fears are informed by an Al-Shabaab attack on a university in Garissa, which killed nearly 150 students the previous week. Many fans are urging the government to beef up security measures. The Mashemeji Derby, which translates loosely to the Battle of the In-Laws, pits the country's top teams, Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards.
A match between Kenya Football League defending champions Gor Mahia and perennial arch rivals AFC Leopards has always been well attended. The two teams are due to meet at Nairobi's Nyayo National Stadium on Sunday, but fans this time around are hesitant about turning up. They're worried about their security after a deadly terror attack by Al-Shabaab-linked gunmen earlier this month.
Without the derby being peaceful, I think most of the fans might end up not going to the stadium. That's one. But since we are mourning our students who are killed in Garissa, what we need first is security, and we are appealing to the government to beef up security on that day.
Much is expected. You know, it's more football. It's going to be fanatics. You'll see around in town, it will be green and blue. We'll be dancing, singing, cheering our team. Yes, strongly to ensure that we deliver, not just in the field, but also as a fan. You want to feel to be part of the team.
Derbies across the world are characterized by intense rivalry between opposing fans. The most notorious on the continent can be found in Egypt between the main football clubs Al Ahly and Zamalek in the Cairo Derby. Football fans in Kenya are being urged to tone down their rivalry. But despite the security worries, Nairobi's main streets are expected to still witness the green and blue wave of supporters on Sunday as the Mashemejis battle it out. Leslie Marungu, CCTV.
Right now, turning to the latest in our series of features that examines Africa's various football leagues from a business point of view. We take a closer look this week at South Africa's PSL, which is the most financially lucrative on the continent. But as our reporter Dan Williams finds out, the league continues to face other challenges.
Match night in South Africa's Premier Soccer League, and Orlando Pirates fans are in good voice. The PSL is big business. In purely financial terms, it's a top 15 league in world football. Brand de Villiers is the PSL chief executive. He puts the upturn down to good administration.
You have to deliver the matches on time. You have to deliver the right quality of facilities. You have to deliver, you know, as I mentioned a few times, you know, a financially sustainable product. Otherwise, nobody believes in it, you know. So there has to be trust and consistency, trust in what you're going to see every Saturday or every Wednesday, you know, or every Sunday, you know. So if you don't trust that, that's going to be delivered, then you lose sponsors, and and it goes downwards from there.
The catalyst for the jump to the big league came in 2007 when the PSL signed a TV deal with SuperSport worth $160 million for 5 years. That has since increased to more than 200 million, and that's before the rest of the sponsorship deals.
Without doubt, the PSL has grown considerably over the last decade. The facilities are as good as any in the world, but the league still faces a number of challenges.
A key concern is attendances. Outside of the Soweto derby, most of the matches are played out in front of empty stands.
Ultimately, if you're watching a game on television and it looks like there's about 150 people in the stands, it immediately devalues your product, it decreases the appeal of your product. And the other one is the standard of play. You have to improve the standard of play. I mean, I've been watching this football for 15 years, and too often you go to a game and it's like, this is just boring, or this is terrible. You can't expect people to watch your product if the quality of play is not good enough.
The boost in revenues has had the knock-on effect of a jump in players' wages. Some clubs are calling for a salary cap so they can use the money to develop academies. Football agent Glenn Binken once managed the likes of Lucas Radebe. He feels there is a further consequence to the recent wages increase.
I think one of the challenges that we face at the moment is that because of the professionalism of the league and the money that's in the league in South Africa at the moment, the players are happy to stay in South Africa, and they don't have the hunger of the players of yesteryear who 20 years ago realized they had to go to Europe in order to be able to forge a career for themselves. You now found that because of the money that's in the influx of money in South African football, that players are earning similar types of money that they could be earning in Europe.
The PSL is mindful of the challenges ahead, but the vision is clear.
We want to be one of the best leagues in the world, and we, in order to do that, we have to do every little thing, correct and at a certain level. So we know we have many shortcomings still, and so we, as they say, eating the elephant bite by bite, and trying to improve, whether it's administratively, whether it's on the field, the clubs, etc. We're taking it step by step, and that's what we aim for.
The PSL's accomplishments should be celebrated, but South African football fans will be all too aware an impressive balance sheet does not necessarily translate to success on the pitch. Dan Williams, CCTV, Johannesburg.
You're watching Matchpoint. It's time for us to take a short break. Here's what's still to come. Defying the heat of the Sahara Desert, why Morocco's extreme marathon is ranked among the toughest on earth. And we tell you about a Zimbabwean golfer who's about to make history 14 years after his death. Welcome back. Now, Morocco's Marathon des Sables is considered by some to be the most grueling foot race on earth. CCTV's Leslie Mirungu takes us through a little of what the runners go through while running across 250 kilometers in the desert.
1,500 runners from 46 countries running 250 kilometers in the driest place on earth, the Sahara Desert. A test of endurance and willpower, the Marathon des Sables has 6 stages spread on a number of successive days. The marathon's rules require the competitors to be self-sufficient. That means they carry everything they need to survive on their backs. But with one exception, none of the competitors should carry any water. More often than not, the race is won by a Moroccan, and it wasn't any different this year as Rashid El Morabiti led throughout the stages to win the race. But what makes this one of the hardest feats for the regulars? Imagine yourself running in the Sahara under 50 degrees Celsius heat with nothing but rolling sand dunes for miles around. You can't feel the sweat dripping down your face because it's quickly evaporating in the baking heat, and the wind doesn't make it any better.
It's a hard day. It was the hardest day. Very warm. Someone measured 51 degrees on their watch as we were going through the dunes. And there were lots of dunes and lots of sand. And I felt quite tired in the beginning, so it took a while to warm up, so to speak. But yeah, no, it was good.
The shortest stage in the race is about 21 kilometers, and the longest is stage 4, which this year covered almost 91 kilometers. After a day's race, the runners retire to the bivouac villages where they spend the night. The Marathon des Sables is ranked by some as the toughest foot race on earth. But the race's organizers promise that after crossing the line, each participant will feel an incredible accomplishment, that you will walk away knowing that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. Leslie Marungu, CCTV.
Well, turning now to a much less grueling sport, Zimbabwe, though a small nation, is well known in golfing circles for producing world beaters like Nick Price and Mark McNulty. But there is one black golfer who also made his mark and is now set to make history 14 years after his death. Farai Mwakutuya has more.
Louis Chitengwa Jr. started golfing at age 7 under the tutelage of his father, Louis Sr., himself a passionate golfer who fell in love with the game he first encountered as a caddy back in 1958. His father saw the makings of a great golfer in his son, even from a young age.
We used to spend almost about 10 hours together. We used to start from 6 in the morning, 2-hour break, we go back to about 8 in the evening. Now, 8 in the evening, I had to put a light on the putting green, so we could finish out everything, whatever we were doing during the day, in the evening, putting. Yes. And there is the guy who used to be, now, if I tell him right now, there is a chip, I want you to, those balls, of 150 balls, I want you to get 10 balls in the hole, he will say, I want 15.
Louis lived up to expectations, winning the Zimbabwe Amateur Championship 3 years in a row in 1992, 93 and 94. He was awarded a scholarship to the University of Virginia in the United States, where the trophies kept coming in. He won the Top University Player in 1995, became the first black player to win the South African Amateur, and won the Gary Player Orange Bowl World Junior Championships in 1992, beating Tiger Woods by 3 shots. Sadly though, this promising career was tragically cut short during a tournament in 2001.
I spoke to him on a Monday and said, Dad, I'm going to win this tournament. All your problems are now over. He shot 70 on Thursday, 67 on Friday, and I was expecting to hear something from him, better things.
But the call he was to receive was that his son had died from a rare case of meningitis.
We cannot do anything. It's God. We always put this to God. Yes.
Chitengwa left an indelible mark on the world of golf and is now set to get the recognition that his short but impressive career deserves. An induction into the South African Hall of Fame, the first black golfer to make it into the hallowed walls. One tournament he never got a chance to play in was the Zimbabwe Open. The 2015 edition is currently underway. All hope of getting the Chitengwa name on the trophy is not lost though. Louis's younger brother Farai is playing, and as usual, under the watchful eye of his father.
This is what Louis Chitengwa Sr. has been doing for the past 31 years, training juniors. Many who've passed through his hands have turned pro, amongst them Brendan de Jong, Zimbabwe's top-ranked player who's currently playing on the US PGA Tour. But perhaps the one player whose star shone for the shortest time but who had the greatest potential was his own son, Louis Chitengwa Jr. Since his death, Chitengwa Sr. has now made it his mission to introduce as many young people as he can to the game.
More and more black Zimbabweans are taking up the game, some at very tender ages. Few of them will ever match Chitengwa's success, but their interest in the game will ensure that this young gentleman's memory is not forgotten. Farai Mwakutuya, CCTV, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Now, kite surfing is expanding in Egypt, and Red Sea resorts are becoming popular sites, especially for the sport. Adel El Mahroui was in El Guna and filed this report.
Kite surfing is a unique sport. It gives unlimited pleasure That's the only sport that gives you the freedom to choose from surfing on the sea surface to gliding in the air. There are few places on the planet a kite surfer can enjoy all year long. Egypt is one of them.
The reason why we're so special, because we have the wind all year round. It's not a seasonal place. And as well, we have the lagoon. So the lagoon's very easy for beginners to walk in and to walk back, and very safe. The wind's always a side to side onshore, so you'll always get back to the shore, whatever, and walking. So this is why.
Despite that the number of Egyptians in the sport are rising, they are still non-significant. Most kite surfers here are from West Europe, and for many of them, it's becoming a habit to come here.
It's a good time now. In Switzerland, it's still cold. Here's good wind. It's close to Switzerland. It's not very expensive for Swiss guys, so that's why we're here. It's the second time here. I was last year already, and now this second time. We're 2 weeks here, so that's cool.
Depending on the season, an all-exclusive trip here could cost as low as €500 a week. For kite surfers, Egypt is not just unique for its weather conditions, but also for the endless touristic sites and activities that can be done beyond the sport.
It's a big point to come because of the kite surfing, but we discovered a lot of other things here, so you can do a lot of different stuff. So it's a little bit like a little paradise, especially for people they like warm weather. So I think we would come here even if there would be no wind. So if it's no wind, it's no problem for us.
Technology helped in making the equipment much safer. All kites are inflated with air, making the sports accessible to children from 7 years old and grown-ups to over 60.
Kite surfing started here as an extreme sport for residents and visitors of Elgona, but it quickly grew and became an attraction site that brings tourists from across the world to come not just to enjoy the sport, but to explore the country. Adil Mahroui, CCTV, Elgona, Egypt.
Well, and on that high-flying note, that's it for this week's edition of Matchpoint. Remember, you can send your feedback to matchpoint@cctv.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa, or stay in touch on Twitter. The handle is @CCTV News Africa.